How would you like to achieve your first million? And today we have Bruno joining us from London, and he is a business consultant, but also a university professor. So Bruno, tell us, what are the 5 steps to make your first million?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and the wisdom of how they sold their first million.
The first step is to understand that the most important resource in business is not artificial intelligence, is not technology, is not information, is not innovative product or services, but is the human being. When you nurture a strong relationship with different stakeholders within the company, employees and management, and outside the company, customers, suppliers, business partners, community members, you tend to achieve this key performance indicator, profitability, productivity, efficiency, more effortlessly. Why? Because the key performance indicator come as a result of a strong, robust, long-lasting relationship with the stakeholders. So
100%.
try focus on relationship. Why? Because the most important resource is relationship. Relationship, you want every stakeholder on your side. You don't want against you. When they're on your side, they will help you achieve your company's mission. Second step, the importance of generosity in business. What is generosity? Giving, and giving back. Many companies focus on the opposite. They try to get, they try to obtain more profit, more customer, more market share, more productivity, higher quality levels. But if you see some example like companies like Google, they're always giving away products, services, Google Search, Google Scholar, Google Map, Google Translate. When you give products, services, you give support, you give free information, you generate a positive cycle of generosity. Generosity, according to research, begets more generosity. Instead, when you focus on yourself, you are stingy, you are not generous, you are selfish. Well, customer perceive this and will run away from your
100%.
company. Employees will perceive this and will look for other company for job opportunities.
100%.
Third step is about appreciation, thankfulness, gratitude. Many companies take a stakeholder for granted. When a customer buys from your company, you have to send a letter being grateful for their purchase. When employees work hard, work overtime, you have to give a thank you note, hand sign when possible, and also, if possible, give a bonus. And the appreciation is taking into account the stakeholder and how they contribute to your company. You have to ask yourself, listen, you have to ask themselves, how can I be more generous with different stakeholders today? And how can I be more grateful with different stakeholders? Because generosity and gratefulness generate more generosity and gratefulness. Fourth step will be taking into account that in business you have two main aspects. What we call quantitative aspect of business, what can be measured, what can be valued. For example, market share, profitability, sales. This can be measured, can be counted very easily. And most businesses try to focus on this quantitative aspect, what can be measured very easily, we call key performance indicator. But there are other aspects that we call qualitative aspect of business, what cannot be measured, what cannot be counted, that include camaraderie, compassion, empathy, support, and also kindness. And this qualitative aspect cannot be measured, but they're so important to nurture this relationship with the stakeholders. There is a famous thinker that observed not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything can be counted counts. So this means that when you have an equilibrium, a balance between quantitative aspect and qualitative aspect, you are more prone to be successful, but also human oriented. And your brand image tend to improve. Your reputation tend to improve because you show yourself as a company that care for a stakeholder, not only a company that look for profit. This is quite an important thing. And also, the last step to take is try to make sure that your mission, your business purpose is broad enough, that is not only focused on profit, not only focused on a key performance indicator, but also has a social impact. This means that, for example, you can benefit communities, you can donate, for example, resources to communities like Google and other companies do, Patagonia too, and also you have an environmental impact. So this means that your business mission should have an alignment with what we call the triple bottom line. Triple bottom line implies being focused on profit, the first P, being focused on people, caring for people, internal stakeholders and external stakeholders, and being focused on the planet to improve the world that we live and leave a better world for newer generations.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Now, Bruno, I'm glad that you touched in this, so we're gonna go deep on this because companies are taking for granted everything, that you're saying. This is this old way of being. I want more. I want more market share. I want more clients. I want to make more money. Yeah. And that has been the way that all these companies have been operating for so long, right? However, this is what's happening, Bruno. The consumer are getting very savvy, especially the young generation, right? Because they know which planet they want to live. Yeah, our generation. Yeah, I think I'm older than you, but our generation, we are the generation of waste. This our generation, it was the generation of overproducing, overspending. We were the waste generation. Yeah. So what happened is that our generation have led something really difficult to deal to the new generation. But the new generation that coming, they are not like you and I when we were young. That's we grew up in that era. Now they're growing in a different era. They are very aware that they're very savvy in what type of products they buy, and they want to know who's the company that they're buying from. They want to know if this company not only recycle, but it have social responsibility. And in social responsibility goes everything that you're talking about. Yeah. Because companies out there, because they're using it for marketing a lot, they go there and they say, okay, we're doing social responsibility. Now we're going to start to recycle. Yeah. And they start to tell everyone that they're doing social responsibility. Yeah, because for marketing, it has been proved because we have done work on that area a lot. And we know for a fact that a truly company that works holistically in a 360-degree, which is exactly everything that you talk about social responsibility. Number one, the workers, they will come and work for you even if you pay less money.
I agree.
Because they are aligned with the values of the company. Number two, your clients, you're gonna have a longer customer retention, and you're gonna have a very low customer acquiring, the cost of acquiring new clients, because they're gonna come from referral for your actual clients, because the client is aware what the company is doing in terms of social responsibility. Yeah. So there are two companies. There are companies that really are doing this for real. They feel it, and the consumer knows this. There are other companies out there that they're saying it just because they know that this is a big thing for PR, this is a big thing for marketing, this is a big thing for customer acquisition, but it's not actually, they're not actually doing. Look, I can't mention the name, but I hear the story the other day of a big, huge electronic appliance company, right? That they produce washing machine, fridges, and everything. Yeah, and they decided to use recycled material to put in the packaging. Yeah. And guess what happened? They told the customers, yeah, and they were expecting a wow for the customer. They were expecting the customer say, "Wow, you guys are amazing!" They were expecting that significance. And guess what happened? The customer, what the reaction was, "Well, guys, you should be doing this from a long time ago." You know what I mean?
So true, so true, so true.
So what is illustrate everything that what you just described. Business is changing, consumers are changing, the way we run companies are changing. And if big companies don't get an advisor like you to start to understand how the new movement works, they're gonna be left behind with the elephants, and in the blink of the eye, they're gonna disappear, and they don't even understand what happened, why they got out of business so quickly, and is because what we're talking about. So, Bruno, I want to ask you a question, because for me, this is what social responsibility looks like. Yeah, it's not about only recycling your plastic bottle. It's not about only have the paper. This is what is for me. The social responsibility, the company that, number one, look after the people, exactly like you said. That means, you hire the people because they're the best in what they do. It doesn't matter if you're Chinese, it doesn't matter if you black, if you white, it doesn't matter if you are from minority. It doesn't matter if you even women, men, gay, whatever. Number one, exactly, to have inclusion, and to hide the people just with what should be the best person for the role without any bias. Yeah, including women and for different religions and so on. That goes into social responsibility. Second, in social responsibility comes exactly what you said. What the company is doing to empower the community, to do community projects, to impact the community that they are around. Yeah. Number three, obviously look after the planet. Yeah. About how you manage the waste, but not only you, but also make an impact in your suppliers and in your consumer, because there are companies that say, look, I am doing social responsibility, so if you're my supplier, I need you to work on that so we can keep working together hand to hand. Otherwise, so I need to change supplier because of this. I'm moving the values of my company in that direction. So obviously look after the planet is and be efficient in terms of energy and the resources. That's also important as well. So, and apart from that, have this ethic, like what you were talking something about, be grateful with the clients and give them because that relationship that you establishing with the clients, these companies, Google, they understand very good, probably better than anybody, what is the long-term value of the client. Yeah. And if you're a company that produce different products and services, yeah, and you give the Google Scholar for the education, yeah, this is good because with education, those ones that don't have can have, right? So any tool, any software that facilitate that process is a big value, yeah, for those companies, right? And the more they give to the client, the more that relationship between the company and the consumer getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And then people, when you sell products, people are actually happy to buy from you, right? So the business dynamic is changing. So Bruno, tell us a little bit more about what is your view in social responsibility. Do
Okay.
you think that is a dream that you and I were talking about? Do you think that we are wasting our time here? And or do you
Well,
think that it's gonna be, if companies don't pay attention what we're talking about and they start to embrace what we're talking about seriously, uh, in a shorter period of time that they believe is going to happen big changes and they're going to be left behind?
Well, very interesting question. In my latest book, The Art of Compassionate Business, I include many examples of companies that use the approach of social responsibility. I call this approach differently. I call compassionate business. This means that you are
Okay.
compassionate with different stakeholders. I will describe this in detail. Being compassionate in business implies that you only make decisions that are ending up in win-win agreements. This means that all parties win. No party wins at the expense of others. The company doesn't win at the expense of customer, or the company doesn't win at the expense of employees, or the company doesn't win at the expense of the environment or suppliers and so on. This is very important. If the decision don't end up in a win-win agreement, the company shouldn't make the decision, because we saw that this company's mission is broader, include economic aspect, social aspect, and environmental aspect. Secondly, let's analyze some stakeholders. For example, in the case of employees, When a company is compassionate and is socially responsible, include what you mentioned, inclusion, diversity, participation of employees, because according to research, when the work environment is diverse and inclusive, this workplace tend to be more creative. Why? Because you have different views, different values, different cultural backgrounds, and people can brainstorm in this work environment and can generate more innovative ideas. There is a lot of research on innovation and inclusiveness and participation and diversity. But also this workplace tend to be much more psychologically safe. This means that people feel at ease. There is no fear in the workplace. When I advise companies here in the UK and abroad, we observe many companies that are fear-based. This workplace is full of fear. Employees are fearful of making mistakes, of being fired, of being outpaced by colleagues, of sharing information, sharing resources. When you are fearful, you cannot cooperate. You cannot think clearly. You cannot be innovative. You cannot be productive. Why? Because you have a defensive attitude. You are in a freeze, fight, flight mode, and you tend to defend from a perceived threat. So psychologically safe workplaces, according to research, when people feel at ease, when they can give their opinion, when they can be themselves, when they can innovate and try non-traditional things, these workplaces tend to bring about higher employee satisfaction, higher customer satisfaction, because employees that feel safe, they feel content, they feel supported, tend to serve customers much more effectively. Lower absenteeism, people want to go to work. Lower turnover, people don't want to leave the company. Lower stress level, which implies lower medical bills, means people don't get ill, don't get too stressed, they don't get burnout, but also higher profitability. This means that having a safe workplace from the psychological perspective is very important. How you can do this? Well, encouraging employees, for example, to give their opinion with suggestion boxes, for example, with survey to check how employee satisfaction goes up or down, and address this issue as soon as possible. Also, to allow people to give their views, and especially at the level of management. In some cases, I observe some management members that they believe that they know it all, that they believe that they are acting in an arrogant way because they believe that they don't have to be given any opinion from, for example, lower levels. Instead, companies that have a psychological safe workplace welcome new ideas even when they appear to be a bit crazy or far-fetched. Why? Because they act in a humble way, especially management level act in a humble way, and they're welcoming ideas because every person has blind spots. And also having this session where everyone can give their views, what we call brainstorming session, and especially some companies that have this session that include representative of different departments, what we call cross-departmental meetings. These sessions tend to be very nourishing and very insightful because people generate a lot of ideas, and these ideas tend to bring about innovative products, innovative services, and innovative processes. Let's talk about customer now. In relation to customer, to be more compassionate or socially responsible, as you say, is to change the approach from selling products, that is the wrong approach, to serving customer, completely different approach. Selling products, not good, wrong approach. Most companies can do this, is the basic approach, the default approach. Serving customer, very good, and customer will appreciate, and that, according to research, are more likely to be loyal. Let's differentiate these two approaches. What is selling approach? Selling approach is you focus on your own objectives as a company, as a sales team, for example, and you try to sell the products that are most beneficial for your company. For example, if the salespeople have commission, they will try to sell the product that has the highest price, because highest price implies highest commission. However, this sales approach is a bit obsolete, outdated. The serving approach, an attitude of service to customer, is completely opposite. How can I add value to this customer? How can I improve their lives? How can I make their life better? How can I address their needs? Because when I address their needs, my company's objective will be achieved indirectly. If I don't address their needs, they will feel deceived, they will feel cheated on, and will look for other companies that will address their needs. So this means a customer orientation. Attitude of service means not servitude. This means being available to serve them in the best way possible. And this means meeting their needs and, if possible, exceed their needs. I give you an example. I have Italian and I like cappuccino. Now I'm not drinking so much caffeine, but I used to drink a lot of cappuccino. And there, I'm in London, and there are some chains here in London. And I went to a coffee shop, very well known, the big chains, and I asked them for a cappuccino, and they told me, oh, go to the table, and I would like to serve you the cappuccino on the table. Hot cappuccino. I was waiting 15, 20 minutes. They brought the cappuccino. I drank the cappuccino, was cold, late and cold. This chain didn't meet my basic needs. A cappuccino that should be served on time, quickly, and also hot. Second company, competitor, I won't mention the company, but they're the big chains. Again, I went there, I bought the cappuccino, they told me go to the table, we will bring the cappuccino to the table. 1 minute later, very quick, they brought the cappuccino, and I was surprised, very quick. And then I saw that they forgot on the table a tray with biscuits. And I said, sorry, I didn't order these biscuits, so there must be a mistake. No, there is no mistake. These biscuits are for you. They are a gift from the house for you to enjoy the cappuccino. Look, compare these two companies. First one, only focusing on their objectives. Second one, try to delight me. Delighting customer implies exceeding their needs. I didn't order the biscuit, but this was a nice gesture. And which company do you think that I'm loyal to? The second company. So try to focus on customer in a way that you add more value than expect, because you generate a positive cycle. Why? Because you are generous, customer feel indebted with your company, and they're prompted to become generous with your company. If customers are delighted, they're more prone to leave very good positive reviews. If customers are delighted, they're very likely to recommend your company to other potential customers. Instead, imagine the first company. I didn't leave any negative review, but it was an average customer. I would have left a negative review, and I would have pushed other potential customers from coming to this company, to this company. So this means that, again, generosity begets generosity. How can I be more generous with this customer? In some cases, it's not giving something tangible. You can give advice, supposing that you don't have the product for them, because you don't have in your shop. Well, can you recommend a company that has this product? This customer will be very grateful and will understand that you are not only for your own profit, you are for them, because customers feel when you're authentically try to serve them. And obviously they appreciate it. Instead, customers also feel when you are greedy. You're only focusing on your profit, and you treat this customer as a figure in your database, a figure that help you generate profit. And customers are human beings that have needs that have economic need, emotional need, mental need, and need to be addressed. How can I add more value to this customer? And then let's talk about the other stakeholders, suppliers, business partners. How can I build more humane relationship with these stakeholders, other stakeholders? For example, can I call them on a regular basis, for example, suppliers, not only to talk about business, but for example, to congratulate them for their business anniversary, a good gesture? Can we celebrate with a letter when they launch a new product, a new material, or an innovation, or they open a new branch? So this means that nurturing this qualitative aspect of business means being kind, being attentive, being compassionate, being supportive, and try to strengthen this relationship with these different stakeholders, because when you do so, you are more prone to generate more business, and you have a long vision. You have a long-term vision. This means that you are not only focusing on a transaction, but you're focusing on a relationship, a long-term relationship. What I can say about the environment? Well, the environment could be, for some, is considered a stakeholder. How the company can be much more environmentally friendly? Well, we see many companies that use what we call greenwashing. Greenwashing, this means that they pretend they're environmentally friendly, but then when you analyze the business plan, when you analyze the reports, they're not doing anything for the environment.
Exactly.
But
Lot of company doing this.
PR is only PR is stratagems, but in
like
practice,
I told you.
not good. So, and customer sooner or later will discover this, because all information become public. When the company do greenwashing, this affects the company reputation negatively. There is a group of customers, especially new generation, that we call conscious customers. Conscious customers are not only the ones that buy a product that satisfies their needs, but also try to buy products that make a difference in the world. They make a dent in the world. For example, product that might have recycled material, or might have like a eco packaging, or might have an eco manufacturing process, or they have, for example, organic ingredients, so fair trade products. So in this case, when the customer discovered that this was fake, that was not real, that was the company only to improve the brand image, this is counterproductive, and the company reputation tend to go down. When the company reputation is everything, because if the company reputation go down, this customer will discourage other customer to buy from this company. Employees won't prefer this company to work because nobody want to work for a company with bad reputation. Investors will not invest in this company. Why? Because they are very wise with their money. They don't want to waste their money. So this means that reputation is key. Company need to be transparent. The example of this that I mentioned in my book is companies should become the exemplar, the example to be followed, to be emulated by the companies. And in some cases, they can take into account leading companies in that sector, but try to ask themselves, how can I improve what this company is doing? Try to benchmark. Means if you see a company that is a leading company, very environmentally friendly, try to imitate this company and go further. How can I be even better than this company so that they become themselves as an example?
Bruno, I want to extend in some points that you talk about speech, specifically in the cappuccino, right?
Okay.
Look, this true story, yeah. We went when it was my partner's birthday, yeah. I took her to the Burj Al Arab, yeah, to have a meal there. Yeah, talking about is in Dubai. I think the only 7-star hotel in the world. Yeah, or there are few. Guess what happened? It was the birthday. Yeah, so I go in there and we book the restaurant. Yeah, and you know it's expensive. So I'm thinking, gosh, if I had to on top of that buy a cake, it's gonna be way too much. So it's gonna be just dinner. Yeah. So guess what happened? We have the dinner, we ate, yeah. And then after the dinner finished, the team came with the cake and sang happy birthday to her, yeah, with us, yeah. And I'm still telling the story. This happened, I don't know, maybe 7-10 years ago. And you know, I do conference worldwide. I speak in front of thousands of people. And I put that example all the time. And so look, and that's why they're 7-star hotel. That's why they understand. So what happened is, you know, that when I book the reservation, they ask you your name and they ask you your day of birth as part of the reservation. Yeah. So the system already is telling them they have birthday. Cool. It's already embedded in the system. I didn't tell them. I didn't tell them I'm going to have a dinner with my girlfriend because it's the birthday. It's not like that. Say, okay, what's your name? Blah, blah. What's the name of the person? Date of birth of you. That goes in the reservation form to actually eat there. So they have this data. So the system already knew that was her birthday. And then it goes past to the chef. And the chef making a special, you know, a very high-end cuisine. You know, it's not like a big cake. Something, you know, very tiny for 2-3 people, but very well presented, a very high quality cake with gold things and things like that. You know, amazing. But Bruno, I think that's why these companies have different approach. They treat the client in a different way. Guess what happened? Because of that gesture, I have eaten every time that I go to Dubai. I eat in that hotel. I have eaten already in all the restaurants. The hotel have 4 restaurants already. We already eaten in 4 for one tiny cake that they gave me the first time.
Very important. Very important.
Because you are not telling the story to everyone.
Very important. But I agree with this approach, and it's because the company have been generous. They didn't think the cake will be costly to them. They thought about the customer, you as a customer, and keep you as a customer not only for that night or that evening, but also forever. But
Experience.
the spirit was good. The
It
spirit
was
of
like 10 years
gratitude.
ago, I think 7, 10 years ago. And,
Very
you know, we
important.
will never forget that. And these are companies, you know, that have this approach. Now,
Very,
let's talk about business, yeah?
yes.
Because even when you were talking about the cake, I mean, the biscuit that they give you with the coffee, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So, you know, it's a very high perceived value for the client
Mm-hmm.
at a very low cost.
Very low cost. They
When it
might buy
comes
the biscuit in bulk.
when it comes to business, you know, the biscuit can be nice, can be well presented, can be very tiny, but it's a high perceived value for the client,
Yes.
but it's actually a very low cost. You know what is expensive? Customer retention. You know what is expensive? Acquire new clients.
Mm.
Oh, this is expensive.
Very expensive.
You
But
know, create so the company that have this approach that you're describing, actually, when you do the numbers, you see a lot of profitability and a lot of less resistance. The other day in one of these interviews, one of the entrepreneurs asked me, Harry, look, what are the fastest way to achieve from point A to point B? And I'm telling him, you know, so fired up, I'm telling him, well, the fastest way to reach from point A to point B is the straight line. And the guy told me, Harry, is the path of less resistance. Think about the river, yeah? So sometimes we want to achieve a goal, and just because we think it's close, we take the path that is more resistant. And this is what we find out with those companies that they don't have this approach that you're talking about. Then you find a lot of resistance everywhere you go. You find resistance in the customer acquisition process. You find resistance in the customer retention process. You find resistance in the employees, right? Because at the end of the day, the employee is also is having this view as well. But the question I want to ask you, Bruno, for all of the multimillionaires that we have interviewed this very podcast, more than 500 so far, I'm asking some of them, if you had to start all over again, what would do different? What would be that bit that you would do different?
yeah.
And almost everybody give me the same answer. They're telling me, Harry, culture. If I knew that this business is gonna take me 100 times more work and it's gonna be more harder than what I thought, I would put more attention to culture. We put more attention and more time in the diversity, in treat my employees well, in treat my clients well, in create that culture of that values, that because at the end of the day, it's that group of people that it will have an impact in what the company is going to look like in the future. So my question to you, Bruno, is, in your opinion, is culture that important for a startup as well as for the big corporation?
Yeah.
Or you think that is something that is not important? The most important thing is to make money and to achieve the numbers. What do you
Very interesting question. I want to mention, for example, the subtitle of my book is Main Principle for the Human-Oriented Enterprise. Principles are related to culture. Some call this principle values. Value is a very important factor in culture. So I believe that there is a famous thought leader that observed culture is strategy for breakfast. So this means that culture is the most important thing, and culture, you have values embedded into this culture. What are values? Are belief, long-lasting beliefs that help people act in certain ways. For example, compassion could be a good value. Generosity could be a good value. If you see the leading companies that are human-oriented, they are oriented on people, on profit, and on the planet, they have the best value, noble value, lofty values. So I agree with culture, but I want to say that when you have a culture that is foster generosity, foster compassion, in this cultural environment, only relationships that are win-win will succeed, will prosper. when you talk about resistance, about thinking about this, I'm finishing my next book that is also about change. And what I observe with change, that in some cases the most important factor of resistance is that people needs are not addressed in a very effective way. You try to force change, you try to introduce change in a forceful way.
To force an outcome, right? They want to
Exactly.
force an outcome.
You don't care about people. You want to, for example, change the software system in the company, and these people have been using this software for ages. And you try to change the system without offering any training, any mentoring, any coaching. Well, this will be unlikely to succeed. So I agree with culture, and culture implies that when you have a culture that fosters good values, for example, generosity, gratitude, appreciation, kindness, this culture will bring about what I mentioned before, a psychological safe workplace, but also bring about a much more compassionate customer service. You will treat customers in the way that they want to be treated. You won't treat them as objects or elements to generate profit. You won't treat employees as part of the machinery of this company that can be replaced when they fail. Instead, you will treat every stakeholder as flesh and bone human being that they have some fear, they have expectation, they have dreams, they have needs that are not only economic but also emotional needs. They need to be appreciated, they need to be supported, they need to be treated in a compassionate way. And also, this type of culture implies that you try to guide your decisions to bring about the well-being of everyone involved. You try to avoid, as I mentioned, these decisions that bring about win-lose agreements where one wins at the expense of others. So culture is key, and one of the most important elements of culture, I see some companies, for example, that not only they describe their culture in the website, but also they infuse these values that are part of the culture with training. So employees, when it's onboarding process, this employee will be trained on the main values, how they put this value into practice. They will be providing this employee with some example. For example, if one of the values is customer orientation, they will provide this employee on how you can make in practice this effective. So how you treat customer in a very focused way, trying to focus on their needs, try to delight them whenever possible, but also they will take into account that the whole human being, this type of culture that fosters lofty values, take into account, because what you see in practice, for example, I see many companies, they focus only on the rational aspect of a stakeholder, for example, employees. I see many companies that the employees cannot express their emotions even in an effective way. Emotions are outside the workplace because they consider that this emotion can be disruptive. For example, if the employee feel a bit sad or despondent because they have some problems at home, or they got a divorce, or they have some health problem, these employees are ignored. Any emotion that is brought to the workplace is ignored because it's like they didn't exist. But we are emotional beings, and we have very important emotional needs. Instead, I see another category of companies that try to bring about some services like counseling services. For example, some companies like the Big Four, Deloitte, and others, they have counseling services free for employees because we can have, for example, some mental health problems or emotional problems, and we are, before being employees, we are human beings. The same with customers. Companies that have a very important culture, a very, very uplifting culture, they will understand that customers, they do not only buy products, they buy and they are connected to the emotion that they feel when they buy products. So I want to explain this in a very simple way. Companies with a high culture understand that customers want to feel well before buying the product, during the buying process, and after buying the product. Many companies only try to make the customer feel well, satisfied, positive emotion like happiness and so on, only when they buy the product. And then they forget about this customer. No, when the customer bought the product and they got this product at home, they might feel a bit worried. They might feel a bit anxious. They're not sure if they bought the right product or not. A company that has a very uplifting culture will contact this customer to see if everything goes well, will listen to any customer complaint, will address any issue, for example, replacing the product, refunding the money, or recommending a new product. And these are the companies that win customers because This customer, when their emotions are acknowledged, because emotion are connected to customer satisfaction, they are more likely to be loyal. This means that they will feel positive emotion toward this company on a regular basis, and they become ambassadors of this brand. This means that they become the customer that recommend and promote this company's product unconditionally on social media and elsewhere. Instead, when the company dismiss this customer emotion before the buying process, during the buying process, and after the buying process, this customer might feel utilized. They might feel manipulated. They might feel that the company only contacted them to sell product for them, but they don't care about their own need, the customer needs. So this means that emotional aspect should be taken into account in a culture that is uplifting, not only the rational aspect. I feel that many companies leave aside the emotional aspect, and this is a great deficit.
Bruno, I want to expand a little bit more. You were talking about legacy and the, I was checking one talk, one talk that arrived to my emails, that they were looking for people, for speakers to talk about this, which is a big problem in UK. Is about how to close the gap in legacy, and it comes back to culture, because now you have AI, you have cloud computer, you have these new softwares, but what happened is the companies, they're using old softwares, and they have the people, right, using this old software, and they are so scared to make the change because they haven't been nurturing the culture of the company in the right way, right? That they prefer to don't do the change. They prefer, so there are companies in UK that you can see that they are huge companies, really, really big, and still they're using softwares that they are not they need to be changed, they need to be improved, they need to be on the cloud, they need to work in different way, but there is a legacy that has to be uh, taken care in terms of the technology itself, but also the legacy of the people as well. We have to care about these people, to give them training, to spend time with them, to make them understand that this new technology is actually is good for the company, and also for themselves. So what this point that you talk about, culture, right? The to and also about the emotions, right? Because when companies evaluate the employee, it doesn't matter. They just need you need to hit a number, and that's the end of it. So you can be working for 10 years in a company. If this quarter you don't hit the number that you're supposed to hit, and somehow an external factor decrease the profit, that's it. They fire you just because you didn't meet the number. They don't want to know if maybe this quarter you have problems with your house. Maybe you have a son or that is ill, and that's why this affect your performance. But rigid company like this, they only see a number, and they have a criteria, and they don't look at the human aspect of it in order to take the decision, right? So, and maybe you made mistake, you find the wrong person, so it's true that maybe you have to cut costs, and maybe you need to get rid of people, but because they're looking at a particular number in a particular quarter, and that's the criteria to get rid of the people, find the people, maybe they even find the wrong people for the company, which becomes even worse. So so those companies exactly that you talk about, that they have these they looking after the people, and they have this counseling, and they understand it, because at the end of the day we are human beings, right? Because at the end of the day, the whole point to have a company is about maximum performance, maximum productivity, and in order for you to achieve that, you have to bring the human element inside the culture, inside the company, because that will increase productivity. That's why these companies like Google, you go there and you see ping pong tables, and you see places that people can sit and talk, and those companies understand very well that that the more better mental health those employees have when they are at work, and when they are actually working, they can be way more productive. Yeah. The other thing that I want to enhance of what you just said is about those companies looking at with the client. You know what they looking after the client, checking when the client checking the product. Yeah. So let's say, for example, Amazon. Yeah. One of the second whatever richest men in the planet. Yeah. What this company? What is the only success of Amazon? Why the company becomes successful in the first place is because they have a look about the customer experience. That was the main goal. If people order from them, they want to see that the consumer order easy, the product arrive fast. If there is any problem, we change it and keep the relationship with the customer. Yeah, that's when nobody knew Amazon. That's what they were doing every single day. And guess what? Now we all know Amazon, yeah, but you don't even remember. But like everybody else, the way that you learn about Amazon is because somebody told you.
I
You know,
agree. I agree. I agree.
somebody told you, look, oh no, I want to buy that. Look, go to this place, Amazon. You find everything is fast, no problem. You don't like the product, change it very quickly. Someone, a friend, someone will tell you, and this is how we all know about Amazon, right? So they
Wonderful.
center in what we call a long-term value of the client. Even here in UK, Bruno, you see these companies, like BT or the whatever in the internet, they give 6 months free. Yeah. So why those companies giving you 6 months free internet? You know why? Because once you put the internet in your house, yes, and that thing works, you're never gonna change. It doesn't matter how much it costs. It doesn't matter. So those companies understand very well the long-term value of the client. They understand that once you have that consumer, that client, if you give them a good service, yes, and you nurture that client, you have a client for a long time, and having a client for a long time, the value of that is huge when you multiply it for for large number of clients, for large organizations. So on the other hand, companies that are using all the money, all the resources, all the energy, yeah, trying to find new strangers, new clients, new marketing strategy. Let's bring more new people, new strangers, which is something that is really expensive. To bring new people, it requires a lot of work because these people don't know you, and then you need to convert into client. And then the actual client base that the company have, people that already bought from you, people that already have the relationship for you, people that you can even do customer appreciation party or something like we're talking about, small high perceived value, the very, very um, is more cost for you, right? Can create a great impact in these customers that actually I'm buying and buying again and again and again from you. It's like this theory, like there is a book. I went to the launch. It's for the founder of Metrobank. It said 10 customers into funds. Yeah, if you can operate at that level, yeah, that you can turn your customers into funds, the whole dynamic of the business itself change. But I want to talk, Bruno, about your book. Tell us a little bit more about your book. Where can we buy your book? What is about? What can we learn?
The book is titled The Art of Compassionate Business. The subtitle Main Principle for the Human-Oriented Enterprise was published by Ruth Leach by the end of last year. The second edition. This second edition includes more than 400 pages with a lot of cases of companies that are compassionate but also successful from different continents.
Wow, that's a big job, Bruno. You did a big study.
Very big job. And also this book includes some topics such as the importance of a broader mission, the importance of beliefs and a prosperity mindset in business, the importance of a compassionate communication, how you can communicate with different stakeholders in a compassionate way. There is a full chapter on appreciation, gratitude, and other aspects in business. There is also different chapter for different stakeholders. For example, how you develop a much more compassionate workplace, how you develop much more compassionate customer service, how you develop much more compassionate relationship with other stakeholders. And there are two more chapters on creativity and innovation in the business environment, and also have different appendices on stress in the workplace, mindfulness in the workplace, leadership, compassionate leadership, with a lot of examples. It's a lot of work, but it's very satisfying because I feel that has a lot of acceptance in the readership, and the book can be found on Amazon, any other bookshop, online or offline. It's sold worldwide, and obviously it's published by Routledge. The cover is white. The previous edition, the first edition, was black. So this is the new edition. Make sure that if you buy, it's the white cover.
Yeah,
And,
the white one, yeah.
and yes, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Bruno. And Bruno, if we have some corporate listeners that are paying attention to this broadcast and they want to learn more from you,
Okay.
how can they find you? How the process works?
There are different websites that I have, but I give you one that is very simple. It's www.brunosignaco.com. Or they can find me on LinkedIn. They can check on LinkedIn. They can join me on LinkedIn. They're more than welcome. I publish articles and newsletter on a regular basis.
Wow, thank you so much, Bruno. That has been fantastic. Yeah, you're very powerful. Yeah, it's almost about hit 12 o'clock here in UK and you're still on. So with a lot of energy. Look, thank you so much. I think I really appreciate your priceless advice and lessons that you have shared in this podcast to our audience. I really, really appreciate it. And I really, we love, from this podcast, we believe that all entrepreneurs should be happy, wealthy, and healthy, right? And if in your company, even if it's a small business or medium size or large company, if as an entrepreneur we don't start to use this principle that we discussed today, we're gonna find a path with a lot of resistance in order to beat the company, because the world is changing, culture is changing, consumer behavior is changing, and the old way of doing things, it doesn't work anymore. And we have big companies that they are elephants. They're responding to change so slow. Like, rather than be like an entity that have like 1,000 little boats, that when you said turn right, all the little boats will turn right at the same time very quickly. They're like a massive Titanic. And when they're gonna respond to change, they have to turn right. Now you need to turn the whole big Titanic on the right. So those companies that they are slow to respond to change and slow to implement what we discussed today, they're gonna have a hard time to be around in the future. Yeah, with a company that they're able to give this power to the people, this surrender all the authorities residents within the companies, and this management system where where everybody says, oh, you have to do what I say, don't ask me, I don't listen, you have to do what to do. If these structures, right, and the management doesn't go to training and don't start to learn new ways how to become leaders, right, than management manager, and how you can empower and enroll your team in your organization, the organization itself, they're gonna face huge problems responding to change, which has been the death of all these big companies in the past, that change arrived and they were so slow to respond that they're not around anymore. So thank you so much for this profound lessons, master class, I would say, that you share with us, Bruno. And for our listeners, see you in our next podcast. how brave entrepreneurs like Bruno break that wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.